12, matters of urgent public importance. On this particular matter, on the urgent need to enhance the capacity of the National Emergency Management Agency for swift and effective responses to national emergencies. Mr. Speaker, I beg my honorable colleague, I beg you to allow me and the House to suspend this rule to allow us to take this motion immediately. This has to do with our responses in terms of emergencies. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Any seconder to the first leg of the motion? Honorable Victor.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, my dear colleagues.
Sit down.
Huh?
When they say Victor, you sit down. Yeah, no, my brother, seniority comes to play. This is the Victor known in the house. Please sit down.
The chairman of the powerful committee, the power committee. Eh? I'm so sorry. You will have the opportunity to second the second leg.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for giving recognition to seniority. I remain Honorable Victor Nwokolo, member representing Ika Northeast, Ika Safra constituency of Delta State. I stand to second the motion ably moved by my leader, Right Honorable Wasi. I so second.
Those in support of this motion should say aye. Those against should say nay. The ayes have it. Honorable Victor, please second the second leg.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I see it's a day of the victors. My name is Honorable Victor Famogene, Obaru Federal Constituency, Anambra State. Mr. Speaker, dear colleagues, I rise to second the second leg of the motion, which requires that the motion is urgent enough to be heard now. I so second.
Those in support of this motion should say aye. Those against should say nay. The ayes have it. Honorable Ahmed Wase, please be brief.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. The House notes with concern the increasing frequency and severity of natural disasters, pandemics, and other emergencies in Nigeria, which pose a significant threat to human life, livelihoods, and national security. Further notes that the critical role of National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, in response to emergencies and disasters across our nation, and acknowledge the need to enhance NEMA's capacity to effectively respond to those increasing challenges. Aware that the agency is saddled with the responsibility of coordinating and implementing efficient disaster response and relief measures, ensuring the safety and well-being of our citizens during crisis. However, recent incidents have highlighted a significant gap in our emergency response capabilities, particularly in search and rescue and medical evacuation. Also aware that the current fleet of air ambulance and helicopters is inadequate to cover our country's vast and diverse terrain. The limitation hampers the agency's ability to respond swiftly and effectively to emergencies, particularly in remote and inaccessible areas. Worried about the rise in natural and man-made disasters, including floods, earthquake, industrial accident, the demand for rapid response and medical evacuation has surged. Our current capabilities are stretched thin, leaving many vulnerable citizens without timely assistance. Aware that emergency time is of essence, delays in search and rescue operations or medical evacuations can result in increasing facilities and fatalities. And
order, please.
Enhanced NEMA's air capability will significantly reduce response times, thereby saving lives and mitigating the impact of disaster. Cognizance of the urgent need of the National Emergency Management Agency to acquire additional air ambulance and helicopters to enhance its capacity for search and rescue operations, as well as medical evacuation, as NEMA currently have one air ambulance and one Bell 429 helicopter, which were procured since 2014 from the funds appropriated by the 7th Assembly. Worried about the negative consequences of the Nigerian Air Force and Nigerian police taking over the air ambulance and helicopter from NEMA, which has further depleted the agency's assets and accomplishment and compromised its ability to respond effectively to emergencies. The House therefore resolved to urge the federal government to prioritize and provide funding for the procurement of additional air ambulance and helicopters equipped with advanced medical facilities and search and rescue capabilities to be deployed to key locations across the country, enabling swift mobilization to disaster-stricken areas. Review and increasing the budget of the provision of National Emergency Management Agency to enable an agency to invest in the training of the personnel to operate, maintain, and equip and ensure that our emergency response are well prepared and utilize this resources effectively. Mandate the Committee on Appropriation, Disaster Preparedness to liaise with the Budget Office of the Federation and take necessary measures to ensure adequate funding is provided in the agency in the 2025 budget. Mr. Speaker, respectfully, I so move. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Amendment, Mr. Speaker.
Amendment. Who is moving for an amendment? Please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. Honorable Comrade Bashir Usman Goro is my name, representing Gwaranyo Gadapero constituency. Mr. Speaker, I listened to the prayers for this motion, and I want to draw the attention of this honorable House to note that even the present air ambulance that the National Emergency Management Agency used to have was taken over by the Air Force. So as it is stand now, the Nigerian National Agency for National NEMA, they don't have any air ambulance. Even the one they have was taken over by the Air Force. So for this, my amendment is that this House should urge the Nigerian Air Force to return the air ambulance that's owned by National Emergency Management Agency. Thank you.
Well, we don't know what actually prompted that particular change, and I'm sure it must be for the national interest, but be that as it may, if you are still of the view that we should put it to vote, we'll oblige. But I am absolutely sure
Mr. Speaker,
whatever prompted the Nigerian Air Force to take over their ambulance must be in public interest. Do you still want us to get a seconder and put the
Mr. Speaker,
question?
the motion is urging the federal government to buy more aircraft or air ambulance for National Emergency Management Agency. Meanwhile, they used to have air ambulance, and it was taken over by Air Force.
So there's no reason to
so we can
still
urge
maintain
Nigerian
the prayer
Air Force,
for them to
urge
have
them to
another
return
one.
their aircraft.
If the previous one has already been taken over, I don't think if there's any problem with that.
Okay, I so step down the amendment, Mr. Speaker. I'm well guided.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Honorable Isiaka, please make it brief.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'm a quintessential speaker with substantial values. My distinguished honorable colleagues, Right Honorable Dr. Ibrahim Ayokunle Isiaka is my name. Mr. Speaker, I speak for the entire Nigerians and I have a source for a week of federal. From Ogun State, Mr. Speaker, I rise and seek to amend the prayers as ably enunciated by my leader, Honorable Wase. I rise to amend prayer 1, AB to include C, Mr. Speaker. To include C, that is to say the House Committee on NEMA, since we have a House that's charged with that responsibility, Mr. Speaker, House Committee on National NEMA to evaluate all the requirements that will enable NEMA to function efficiently and have a recourse to the House for further legislative action. I so move, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Any seconder to this amendment? Any seconder? Honorable Maki.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, my honorable colleagues. I'm Abubakar Maki Eleman. I'm from Jigawa State. I represent Malamudur Kaugama Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion as amended by my honorable colleague. I so second. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Those in support of this motion should say aye. Those against should say nay. The ayes have it. Any seconder to the motion as amended? Honorable Engineer Kazauri.
Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, I'm Honorable Architect Mohammed Mukhtar Zannan Kazauri, member representing Kazauri, Roni, Gwiwa, Mkwashi Federal Constituency. I'm from Jigawa State. I rise to support the motion ably moved by my leader. I so second, Mr. Speaker.
Those in support of this motion as amended should say aye. Those against should say nay. The ayes have it. This motion is referred to the committees on appropriation and NEMA for further legislative action. Honorable members, the first business of the day is presentation and adoption of report of the Conference Committee on a bill for an act to amend the National Assembly Library Trust Fund, Act number 11 of 2022, to change the name of the National Assembly Library Trust Fund to National Assembly Library and Resource Center, provide for additional sources of funds for the Resource Center, eliminate the ambiguity in the chairmanship position of the Governing Council, streamline the functions and duties of the Governing Council and the Office of the Director General, and to provide for the application of the funds of the National Assembly Library Resource Center to set up the National Assembly Museum and for related matters. Standing in the name of Honorable Usman Zanna, Honorable Zanna is hereby invited to present the report.
Thank you, my humble speaker, my respected colleagues. I'm Honorable Zanna Usman, representing the good people of Kaga, Gubioma, Gomeri Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Borno State. I rise this afternoon to present a harmonized report of the Conference Committee, as you have mentioned, that this House to receive the adopted reports and the Conference Committee on a bill for an act to amend the National Assembly Library Trust Fund, established Act of 11 of 2022 to change the name of the National Assembly Library Trust Fund to National Assembly Library and Resource Center, to provide for additional source of funding for the Resource Center, eliminate ambiguity in the chairmanship position of the Governing Council, streamline functions and duties of the Governing Council, and to the Office of the Director General, and to provide application of fund of the National Assembly Resource Center to set up National Assembly Museum and for related matters. Mr. Speaker, with your kind permission, I want to lay the report.
Any seconder? Honorable Badau.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, my respected colleague. Badau Ahmed Yusuf is my name. I represent Shannon Away Federal Constituency. I'm from Kano State. I stand to second the motion heavily raised by my honorable colleague. I so second. Thank you.
Those in support of this motion should say aye. Those against should say nay. The ayes have it. Honorable Chair, please can you proceed and lay the report? Thank you. The conference report is hereby adopted. The first order of the day is a motion on rescission of the resolution of the House on the Appropriation Act Amendment 2024, pursuant to Order 9, Rule 1, Sub 6 of the Standing Orders of the House of Representatives, standing in the name of Honorable Francis E. Waive. Honorable Waive is hereby invited to move the motion.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Francis A. Jirogane Waive is my name, and I represent the entire people of Uwele
Amazon,
South,
please
Uwele
move a
South,
little.
And Udu. I am
Today,
from
Honorable
Delta
Ado is the
State.
traditional ruler. Give him that respect.
Rescission of the resolution of the House on the Appropriation Act Amendment Bill 2024, pursuant to Order 9, Rule 16 of the standing orders of the House of Representatives. The House notes that the Appropriations Act Amendment Bill 2024 was passed on Tuesday, 23rd July 2024. Also notes that in the course of cleaning the bill, the Directorate of Legal Services observed some legal issues that require reconsideration. Aware that clauses 13 and 14 of the bill, as well as the long title and explanatory memorandum, need to be amended to reflect the intent of the Appropriation Act, cognizance of the need to rescind the House decision on the long title, explanatory memorandum, and clauses 13 and 14 of the bill, the House resolves to rescind the decision on the long title, explanatory memorandum, and clauses 13 and 14 of the bill, and commit same provisions to the Committee of Supply for reconsideration. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Is the Deputy Chairman around, Honorable Lambaruna? No? Yes, Honorable. Can't see the face properly. Bauchi.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, my honorable colleagues. My name is Dabo Ismail Aruna, member representing Toro Federal Constituency, and I'm from Bauchi State. I hereby second the motion moved by the Chairman, House Committee on Rules and Business. I hereby succumb, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Those in support of this motion should say aye. Those against should say nay. The ayes have it. The bill is hereby committed to the Committee of the Whole for further legislative action. The second order of the day is consideration of a bill for an act to repeal the Appropriation Act 2024 and enact the Appropriation Act 2024 to authorize the issue from the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation the total sum of 35 trillion, 55 billion, 536 million, 770,218 naira only, of which 1 trillion, 742 billion, 786 million, 788,150 naira only is for statutory transfers. 8 trillion, 270 billion, 960 million, 606,831 naira only is for debt service. 11 trillion, 268 billion, 513 million, 380,853 naira only is for recurrent expenditure, while the sum of 13 trillion, 773 billion, 275 million, 994,384 naira only is for contribution to the Development Fund for capital expenditure for the year ending 31st December 2024. Honorable members will recall that the bill was committed to the Committee on Supply on Wednesday, 31st July 2024. I therefore call on the leader to move for its consideration.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and my respected colleagues. I am and I remain Malam Usman Bello Kumu, member representing Akko Federal Constituency. I am from Gombe State. I rise to move that a bill for an act to repeal the Appropriation Act 2024 and enact the Appropriation Act 2024 to authorize the issue from the Consolidation Revenue Fund of the Federation the total sum of 35 trillion, 55 billion, 536 million, 770,218 naira only is for, some is for, of which one is for statutory, of which 1 trillion 742 billion 786 million 788,150 only is for statutory transfers. 8 trillion 270 billion 960 million 606,831 831 million only is for debt services, whereas 11 trillion 268 billion 513 million 380,553,000 only is for recurrent non-debt expenditure, while the sum of 13 trillion 773 billion 207,000 million 994,384 naira only is for contribution to the development fund or for capital expenditure for the year ending 31st December 2024. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, Kingsley Chinda, I rise to second the motion that HB 1610 be committed to Committee of Supply. So second.
Those in support of this motion should say aye. Those against should say nay. Those in favor have their way. The House Leader, please can you move that the House do resolve to the Committee of the Supply?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Usman Bello Kumo, member representing Aku Federal Constituency, I move that the House do commit into Committee of Supply to consider the report. Thank you.
Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, I second the motion that the House do resolve into Committee of Supply. I so second.
Those in support of this motion should say aye. Those against should say nay. The ayes have it. The House hereby resolved to the Committee of the Whole. Thank you. Before we do that, I have some announcements which I forgot to make earlier on. The first one is coming from Honorable Ambassador Peter Ifanyu Ozoke. It is in respect of an obituary announcement. His message reads as follows. It is with deep sense of loss that I bring to the notice of the Honorable Speaker, Right Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, and entire honorable members of the People's Assembly on the untimely death of distinguished Senator Ifeanyi Oba, which sad event took place on the 27th day of July. Senator Oba, until his death, was senator representing Anambra South in the Senate. Thank you for your attention, Mr. Speaker. Yours faithfully, Honorable Peter Ifeanyi Ozoke. And the second notice is that of an emergency meeting. Members of Labour Party caucus of the House of Representatives are meeting today, Wednesday, July 31st, 2024, immediately after plenary. The venue of the meeting is Suite 0.03, House of Representatives Building. Signed, Honorable Afan Victor Ogene, caucus leader, Labour Party. The last but not the least is an announcement on the birthday of Honorable Obodo Mitema, representing Obia Federal Constituency of Bayelsa State. If Honorable Mitema is around, please can you stand up for recognition? Not around? On behalf of the House, we are wishing you a happy birthday. Honorable colleagues, let us rise for a minute silence in honor of our late senator, after which we will resolve to the Committee of Supply. Thank you. May his soul rest in peace. Honorable colleagues, the subject matter, as we have earlier mentioned, is a bill for an act to repeal the Appropriation Act 2024 and enact the Appropriation Act 2024 to authorize the issue from the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation the total sum of 35 trillion 55 billion 536 million 770,218 naira only, of which 1 trillion 742 billion 786 million 788,150 naira only is for statutory transfers. 8 trillion 270 billion 960 million 606,831 naira only is for debt service. 11 trillion 268 billion 513 million 380,853 naira only is for recurrent expenditure, while the sum of 13 trillion 773 billion 275 million 994,384 naira only is for contribution to the Development Fund for capital expenditure for the year ending 31st December 2024. And honorable colleagues, it's my pleasure to introduce the clauses that will be affected by this repeal and amendment, which is the first one is provision of the bill, which is clause 13, carried. The second is clause 14, carried. Explanatory memorandum carried. Long title carried. Thank you very much. Leader, please, Leader, can you move that we resolve back to plenary?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My respected colleague Usman Bello Kumo, representing Akko Federal Constituency, I move that the House do return into the plenary to report progress. I move.
Minority Leader, please.
Mr. Chairman, I stand to second the motion that we do revert to plenary to report progress from Committee of Supply. I so second.
Those in support of this motion should say aye. Those against should say nay. That is have it. House resolve back to plenary. Right, honorable colleagues, the House and Committee of the Supply considered the report of the Committee on Appropriation on a bill for an act to repeal the Appropriation Act 2024 and enact the Appropriation Act 2024 to authorize the issue from the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation the total sum of 35 trillion 55 billion 536 million 770,218 naira only, of which 1 trillion 742 billion 786 million 788,150 naira only is for statutory transfers. 8 trillion 270 billion 960 million 606,831 naira only is for debt service. 11 trillion 268 billion 513 million 380,853 naira only is for recurrent expenditure, while the sum of 13 trillion 773 billion 275 million 994,384 naira only is for contribution to the Development Fund for capital expenditure for the year ending 31st December 2024. And in so doing, we approve clauses 13 and 14, explanatory memorandum, and the long title of the bill. Thank you very much. Leader, can you move for the consideration?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My respected colleague Usman Bello Kumo, member representing Akufo constituency, I do move that the House do resolve in the committee of the whole to consider the report. I so move.
Leader, can you second, please?
For the adoption of the report, please.
Adoption of the report, sorry.
Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, I second the motion as moved by the House Leader. I so second.
Those in support of this motion should say aye. Those against should say nay. The ayes have it. Honorable colleagues, the third order of the day is consideration of a bill for an act to amend the Central Bank of Nigeria Act to increase the Central Bank of Nigeria's total advances to the federal government from 5% to a maximum of 10% and for related matters. Standing in the name of the House Leader. Honorable members will recall that the bill was committed to the Committee of the Whole on Thursday, 18 July 2024. The Leader will move for its consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My respected colleagues, Usman Bello Kumo, member representing Akufo constituency, I rise to move that the House do consider a bill for an act to amend the Central Bank of Nigeria Act to increase the Central Bank of Nigeria's total advances to the federal government from 5% to a maximum of 15%, and for related matters, I so move.
The Leader, Minority Leader, can you please second?
Mr. Speaker, I second the motion that the House do resolve into Committee of the Whole. I so second.
Those in support of this motion should say aye. Those against should say nay. The ayes have it. Leader, please can you move that the House resolve to the Committee of the Whole to consider this report?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and my respected colleague, Usman Bello Kumo, member representing Akufo constituency. I rise to move that the House resolve into the Committee of the Whole to consider the report.
Leader, are you leaving?
I move.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion as moved by the House Leader.
The House hereby resolved to the Committee of the Whole. But before we do so, please permit me to announce honorable colleagues, on a sad note again, on behalf of the Southeast Caucus of the House of Representatives, we wish to announce the sad and unfortunate death of Chief Emmanuel Nwayun, the 11th President General of Ohanese Indibo worldwide, and Lady Onyeka Nwenu, Nigeria's foremost female entertainer. May their soul rest in peace. And in our usual tradition, honorable colleagues, I will implore us to stand and observe a minute silence for their repose. May their soul rest in peace.
So many clauses?
It is. One will come here as amended. You say you are taking 10. Somebody will amend this 10%.
Honorable colleagues, the bill to be considered is for an act to amend the Central Bank of Nigeria Act to increase the Central Bank of Nigeria's total advances to the federal government from 5% to a maximum of 15%, and for related matters. I now invite the leader to give the synopsis of the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, my respected colleagues. This bill is targeted as improving
Minority Leader, please approach the chair.
revenue of the land, taking cognizance of the economic downturn of the country. There is need for the Central Bank of Nigeria from time to time to be reviewing their policies to enhance the economy. It is on this note that I implore my colleagues to kindly and gratuitously consider and report and approve this report. I so move.
Chairman, Banking and Currency, please approach the chair. Honorable El-Rufai, approach the chair. Honorable colleagues.
Argument. Can we argue on this?
Honorable colleagues, the issue is that three clauses be made part of this bill. I agree with you. In the course of amending the clauses, we can raise the issues you want to raise. So, clause 1. Yes, Minority Leader.
Clause 2.
Okay, clause 1. Clause 2.
Clause 2, sir.
Yes,
Clause 2.
let's hear from you.
Mr. Chairman, my dear colleagues.
Order, attention, please.
I would not want to bore us with the implication of the amendment. I'll go straight to suggest that we amend clause 2 to read 2%. 2%, yes, sir. To read 2% for purposes of accountability. I so move.
What is your reason for 2%?
Mr. Chairman, the part of what we have been talking about is the issues of accountability and then the issues of transparency. Allowing the central bank to advance 15% of the entire budget will not only erode our own powers as an assembly, but it will give a lot of latitude for discretion, which is not too good for us. And that's why I even think that we should reduce from the 5% that we presently have to 2%, which will make the government more accountable, more prudent in management.
Are they
No.
Please, can we have Honorable Faleke say something?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman, honorable colleagues. First, let me say that the present act says 5%, which we passed in this House. And it is the entire National Assembly that passed it, both here and the Senate. What we are saying is that for the survival of the economy and for us to move on, we need to move away from where we are now, which was abused by the previous CBN, and that we need to move to 15%, which can be subject to amendment. You now want to downgrade again to 2%, which is already below the belt. That's what we are talking about. So the matter of transparency, of course, the committees have a responsibility to look at the books. It's not about bringing down the rate that will bring transparency. No.
Ali just approach the chair.
I don't think so.
The chair.
Minority leader, I don't think so.
The chair.
Yes, Deputy Chairman Finance.
Thank you so much, Chair. I just wanted to... Hello, Chair. Order.
Order, please.
Thank you, Chair. I remain Honorable Said Musa Abdullahi. I represent the people of Bida, Bakokacha Federal Constituency. I'm from Niger State, Mr. Chair. I rise to provide further clarification on this issue, the proposal to substitute 5% as provided in CBN Act to 15%. Chair, the provision clearly states that CBN will have the accommodation to lend 5% of the FGN return revenue. There is a window provided to support FGN to implement its budget. As it were, and given our present realities, the 5% is certainly not enough to support whatever objective and the budget the government set out to achieve. So I think if we look at it holistically, and we appreciate where the country is, 50%, I think, should be what we should be looking at this material point in time. So the point is that 15% it's in order.
Okay, CBN.
We
hear
did a
from you,
detailed report
El-Rufai.
on the Ways and Means in the last assembly, and this is part of the recommendation that we gave at the time. 5%, if you look at what was the FGN return revenue for last year, and what the difference between this window and commercial bank or outside lending for FG is that you have a single digit interest, which is really what the government should be looking at. The interest rate that you get from CBN is better for the economy than what you get from the outside. So I think if we look at it holistically.
Thank you very much. Can we hear from Honorable Isiaka?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Distinguished honorable colleagues and my very dearest, having gone through this submission, Mr. Chairman, sir, and having listened to my very good brother, the minority leader of this House, and the minimum threshold, Mr. Chairman, that I would have suggested, which can be well managed and oversighted, and of course that this House, National Assembly by extension, has absolute control through oversight and management, is if we can get to that 15%, Mr. Speaker, may I appeal to this honorable House to see how well we can make do and manage with 10%. That will put even the managers of the economy on the side of caution, not for us to be thinking that since we have something to fall back on, we will not ginger efficiently and effectively our sources of revenue into the country, into the coffers of the Federation accounts. I would rather appeal that we step it from 15 to 10%, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much. Sorry, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, sir.
That will reduce it from 15 to 10?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Okay, Deputy Speaker, please. Former Deputy Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman, respected colleagues, my name is Ahmed Idris.
Please, Honorable Donald Ojogo, get ready after the Deputy Speaker.
I want to lend my support to what my brother, Honorable Isiaka, is saying, and maybe referring to my colleagues to a clip wherein Senate were looking or taking an overview of what happened during the last and previous assembly. And I saw Ndimi visibly angry, saying, Senate President telling him, you are there, saying I wasn't there. You are there, I wasn't there. There meaning that we didn't do our work critically. And for us to be safe, MFLS matter have not been finished. We are not yet going to the conclusion of that. So to manage this economy and to have good accountability, it's better we stop at 10% rather than the 15%. That will give us good outlook and a good face before the public and even in doing our own oversight. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman. These are my contribution, and I'm supporting what is being to the table.
So there is a motion that will reduce it from 15 to 10. Any seconder to that? Maki.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, my honorable colleagues. I remain Abubakar Maki Eleman. I'm from Jigawa State. I represent Malamudori Kaugama Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion as amended from 15% to 10%. I so second, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right. I'll just be reminded there's a motion on the floor. And the second motion has taken, it was an observation, it wasn't a motion. This one had been moved as a motion by the former Deputy Speaker. And it had been seconded. We don't take second observation, we second motion. So I'll just put the question, those in support of the motion by the former Deputy Speaker that we reduce it from 15 to 10, say aye. Those in support that we reduce from 15 to 10, say aye. Those against, say nay.
Carry.
Ayes have it. Clause 3, explanatory memorandum, long title. Thank you, former Deputy Speaker, for that beautiful motion. You have helped us to solve a lot of things. Thanks a lot.
Contribution, sir.
Leader, can you move that we'll move back to plenary to adopt the report?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Usman Bello Kumo, my name. I represent Akko Federal Constituency. I move that we return back to the plenary and report progress. Thank you.
Honorable Wale, okay.
Can you second, please, Honorable Mutu?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mutu Nicholas Obama is my name. I rise to second the motion and ably move my colleague. I still second.
Those in support of this motion, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. We shouldn't go back to plenary. The House hereby reverts to plenary to consider and to adopt a report from the Committee of the Whole. Honorable colleagues, the House in Committee of the Whole considered a report on a bill for an act to amend the Central Bank of Nigeria Act to increase the Central Bank of Nigeria's total advances to the federal government from 5% to 10%, and for related matters. Approve clause 1, clause 2 as
Carry! Point of order, Mr. Speaker. Carry! Point of order. Mr. Speaker, point of order. Carry! Mr. Speaker, point of order. Carry! Point of order. Carry! 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 Carry!
We are moved that we have dropped the report of the Committee of the Whole.
Carry! Carry!
Why are they going to? Why do they want to go out? I don't know.
Any second that Honorable Son Assembly, can you second that we adopt the report?
Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion that we adopt the boss and proceedings of today's sitting. I so move. I say second.
Mr. Speaker, this is very unruly.
The report is hereby adopted as a working instrument of the House.
Standing on the House. Please. Chief Whip.
Order. Honorable colleagues.
Order, go. Don't disturb the House. Carry. Please. Order, please.
Amma shi Jumana.
Let them go now.
Leader, please, leader.
Order, please.
Chairman, Rules and Business, can you suspend the rule that we have it as third reading, please? Suspend the rule for it to go for third reading.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to move that the House do suspend the relevant rules to enable us readdress the issue. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Any seconder? Order, please, order. Please, Honorable Falake, second. That will do the third reading.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. My name is James Abiodun Faleke. I represent the Ikeja Federal Constituency. I rise to second the motion that we adopt the proceedings of today. Thank you.
Thank you. Those in support of the motion say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk, give us the third reading of the bill.
Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members. A bill for an act to repeal the Appropriation Act 2024 and enact the Appropriation Act 2024 to authorize the issue from the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation, sum of 35 trillion, 5 billion, 500 billion, 742 billion, 786 million, 780,000 naira, 150 naira only is for statutory transfers. 8 trillion, 870 billion, 960 million, 606,831 naira only is for debt service. 11 trillion,
Order, please.
68 billion, 513 million, 380,853 naira only is for the current non-debt expenditure, while the sum of 13 trillion, 773 billion, 275 million, 994,384 naira only is for contribution to the debt fund, to the development fund for capital expenditure for the year ending 31st December 2024. Third reading. A bill for an act to amend the Central Bank of Nigeria Act to increase the Central Bank of Nigeria's total advances of the federal government from 5% to a maximum of 10% and for related matters. Third reading.
Bill read third time and passed. Honorable colleagues, it is important for me to push this message across. I know the mood of the nation at the moment. And you will recall that the government has recently increased the minimum wage. That increment and the payment for it has to come from somewhere. You know how the pulse is at the moment and how the Ministry of Finance is struggling to meet up with the responsibilities. The current gap that is non-existent in the percentage that we just amended makes it difficult for the government to meet up our obligations. This gap, though they proposed 15, is too wide. And that was why, in the wisdom of the former Deputy Speaker, he moved a motion for it to be shrink down by extra 5%. This is within industry practice. I urge us to understand the reason behind this bill. It is all for the welfare of this country, and it is done with the right intention. I hereby call on the Leader of the House to move for adjournment of this House till 17th of September 2024.
Usman Bello Kumo is my name. I represent Ako Federal Constituency from Gombe State. I move that this House do adjourn to September 17th.
Leader, move for the adoption of the votes and proceeding of today before moving for adjournment, please.
Once again, Usman Bello Kumo is my name. I represent Ako Federal Constituency. I rise to move for the adoption of the board and proceedings of today. I so move.
Allegiance. Minority. Please, can you move for the adoption of the votes and proceeding of today?
Ali Jesse.
We are waiting. Move for the adoption of the votes and proceeding of today.
Mr. Speaker, my name is Honorable Sayyid Musa Abdullahi. I represent the people of Bida, Gwakokacha Federal Constituency. I'm from Niger State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to move that the votes and proceedings of the day, what's today's date? Today being July 31st, 2024, be adopted. I so submit, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Those in support of this motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Please move for adjournment till 17th of September, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Usman Bello Kumo, member representing Aku Federal Constituency from Gombe State. I move that this House do adjourn to September 17th. I so move.
Thank you very much. Honorable My Palace. Honorable My Palace, second the motion for adjournment. Second the motion for adjournment.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Kabiru Ahmadu My Palace is my name. I represent the entire people of Gosos Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Zamfara State. I rise to second that this House do adjourn until when? Till 17th of September. I so second. Thank you.
Those in support of this motion for adjournment say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The House is hereby adjourned to 17th of September.